The movie might be PG, but my reviews never are. Keep your kids out of the room while I spit hot shit on my latest contract. Pixar is so good at making people cry, I'm starting to question their motives. They made Monsters, Inc., so it wouldn't surprise me if they power their entire building with a liquid fusion generator in the basement that runs on pure tears. I thought they didn't have anything fresh to throw at us as far as sequels go, especially when dealing with a movie that I didn't think was all that good on a Pixar scale. I should have learned by now to stop doubting them, but the hate is strong in this one. I can't help it. It's a chemical imbalance that makes me an ass. Before the credits roll on Inside Out 2, Riley will unlock more self-discovery than a middle-aged divorcee on a girl's trip to Cabo San Lucas, realizing that truth lies at the bottom of a 20-ounce margarita. She can't find her soulmate because she's a bitch. She's always been a bitch, and she's undeserving of love. Moving on, the movie starts as Riley's turning 13 and on the cusp of entering high school. Puberty hits her like a ton of bricks, and inside her mind, construction erupts with a haphazard bunch of workers bursting into the control center, tearing down walls, and upending the console to make way for a new model. Joy, anger, disgust, fear, and sadness, all of our old friends, have no idea what is in store for them. This new console is very different from the original and is hypersensitive. Every press of the button sends Riley switching back and forth between hostility and despair. We're soon introduced to the new, more complex emotions of envy, embarrassment, ennui, and anxiety, the ringleader of the new school. This time around, Riley is going on her first adventure as a teenager. She's been invited to a weekend camp for young hockey players. This is a golden opportunity for her to prove herself as someone who has what it takes to get to the next level. Riley believes her and her friends will be besties through the camp as well as the next school year. Those plans, however, are ruined. During the ride to camp, her friends Bree and Grace give her the news. They will be going to a different high school, and this will be their last hurrah together. They give her the same face your high school sweetheart gave you before suggesting a long-distance relationship, hoping that you had the balls or the spine to say no, letting her off the hook without guilt. You know what, Sandra? If you wanted to break up with me, all you had to do was say it to my face. Where was I? Riley feels like this is the end of everything holy and good, but manages to put on a brave face, at least for the rest of the car ride. Inside her head, anxiety goes on attack mode, quickly switching from her initially wide-eyed excitement over meeting Joy and the rest of the bunch in the control center to a more confrontational stance when she and Joy come to loggerheads about the course of action Riley should take during camp. Joy and the old gang are ousted faster than you can say, "Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you." Now their new mission is, how do they reclaim the manifestation of Riley's sense of self that's been cast across the brainscape? I have no idea what better word you'd use. The new mission? Joy and the gang have to reclaim the physical manifestation of Riley's sense of self that's been cast to the far edge of the mindscape. The second half of that mission? Retaking the control center. I say the only way to establish dominance over your enemies is through the Thunderdome. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. Everyone has a sense of self, and Riley believes herself to be a good person deep down, with a lot going for her, especially when it comes to the action on the ice. Her first test comes when she discovers the captain of the Firehawks, her high school hockey team, is also attending the camp and has taken a shine to her. The first step down the path of the dark side is ditching her friends for a shot at a new clique. With anxiety at the controls, ditch them she does. She is a fantastic antagonist, that anxiety, because as anyone will tell you, the best bad guy doesn't think they're wrong. and the ends justify the means. Does anybody know what it's like when you were exalted among the upperclassmen in school? Going to all the parties, hot girls, being on the varsity team. You don't know? And that's okay, I don't either. Anxiety wants to make sure Riley doesn't become a statistic with a check mark in the losers column. Each of her actions cause an uncontrollable snowball effect, however, that sends her further and further into the void of darkness. First off, this camp is supposed to take place over a weekend, but I gotta tell you, they sure did manage to get a whole bunch of action into that 3 days, and it's more like 2 days, really, because they're dropping them off on Friday, right? And picking them up on Sunday. But they still even managed to get a scrimmage in. When somebody said at the end of the movie, I had a great time at that weekend camp, I was like, oh yeah, that was a weekend. How was that a weekend? Anxiety thinks Riley's former sense of self is inferior and not up to the task for the challenge that lies ahead. She ejects Riley's old sense of self, in actual ejection, to make way for the new construct of anxiety's making. In this regard, anxiety is her own Frankenstein's monster. She attempts to foresee all possibilities, going as far as enlisting the help of mind minions to work in sweatshop-like animation prison, pumping out every scenario they can, non-stop, without a break. Ixnay, Pixar, Disney's right behind you. Inside Out 2 has a weaker second act when it comes to the journey the emotions have to go on to overcome anxiety's master plan. The movie, however, takes a deeper dive into the actual life of Riley from the outside interactions as opposed to the original, which spent the majority of the movie inside her head. Most of the emotions are along for the ride and only get a couple of lines, except for Envy, who is too precious. Each one of the emotions does get at least one scene where they get to show out. However, this story is about the joy and anxiety battle. Both of them think they're right, but by the end, they might find out they can learn something from each other. There doesn't seem to be as many of those mind puns from the first one, but we do get the belief system and the sarcasm from the trailer. We do get a couple of excellent characters they stumble across in the Mind Vault, where secrets and embarrassing thoughts are locked away. But the movie will lose marks for most people because nothing rises to the level of Bing Bong or his departure. Lastly, they did something cool with anxiety that had me leaning forward, mouth agape. All I can say is, I didn't expect the emotions to tap into the Speed Force. I'll strike this one with a single mark for a slightly slower start than I had hoped for. But even I have to admit, I might be nitpicking. On the contract against Inside Out 2, it was an easy job to pass on. I had no problem coming to an agreement with all of the action and tender moments the movie heaps on us. After this, Turning Red, and Elemental, I'm back on the Love Boat with Pixar and could never take out one of their babies. This contract is canceled. I advise against sleeping on this one, as it's better as a big screen experience. Did you see it opening weekend? Let me know if you liked it more than the original. Do you think they should take the IP for a third outing? I'd love to see you in the comment section. As always, I'd like to thank my supporters for watching to the end. A friendly thumbs up wouldn't hurt my feelings either. As for the next time you need your entertainment news or movie reviews, look to the shadows and back it!